Welcome to the Daily Bugle, the fictional New York tabloid newspaper building that you'll often see in Spider-Man related comics and movies, and that 3,700 pieces is the largest Marvel-inspired Lego set of all time. Its impressive numbers don't stop here. It's one of the Lego sets with most minifigures, there 25, one of the tallest Lego sets ever at 82 centimeters, and almost 10% of its pieces are these 1x2x2 transparent panels. 347 to be exact. And before we start, I just want to say thanks to LEGO for sending me an early copy for me to review and give you guys my honest opinion. Let's start with the minifigures, 25 to be exact, and if we don't count the chess LEGO sets, this is one of the sets with most minifigures ever. According to the building instructions, we have the civilians, Bernie the cab driver, Amber Grant, and Ron Barney. There's also Aunt May, Peter Parker's auntie with a double-sided print on the head. Gwen Stacy, Peter Parker's college crush, again, as in the same case with most minifigures of the set, with a double-sided print. Then we move on to the Daily Bugle stuff. Robbie Robertson, Bugle editor with a spider-shaped soft spot and a nice sweater. Ben Urich, Bugle reporter, always first with the big stories. Betty Brandt, J. Jonah Jameson's secretary. J. Jonah Jameson himself, Daily Bugle editor with a very interesting alternate face, with a spider web on his mouth. And finally Peter Parker, Bugle photographer and the guy behind the Spider-Man mask. On the hero side of things, there's obviously Spider-Man, same minifigure as seen in other LEGO sets, Miles Morales, the alternate universe Spider-Man, and a few other characters that I've only came to know from the recent animation movie, like Spider-Ham, aka Peter Parker, gotta love those character names, and Ghost Spider, Gwen Stacy in disguise. Now a couple of hero minifigures who, to my knowledge, are new to this set. First time ever for a Daredevil minifigure, with the extra element on the head for the horns on his cowl helmet. The Punisher, with, as is very natural to him in the shows that I've watched at least, a beaten up secondary print. Firestar, a mutant hero who I've really never heard about. And Blade, the vampire hunter hero. On the villain side of things we have Black Cat, from what I can tell, exclusive to this set, who I initially thought it was Catwoman, but then I remembered this is Marvel we're talking about, whoops. Mysterio, with a very interesting element for the head, making use of a fairly recent material / color in the LEGO portfolio. Sandman, the exact same minifigure from another smaller Spider-Man set, but this time with an extra build where you can connect him. It's all over the place with the crazy angles, and it does give you the feeling that it just burst out of the floor to wreak havoc. Nicely done by the designer. Venom with a crazy build all around him, and while I do get why he has all of these, I think I like it better without all of that. And the same goes for Carnage. Green Goblin is also here, but I'll talk more about him later on. And finally, the best equipped Dr. Octopus in LEGO form ever, using a very interesting choice of LEGO elements to make his tentacles. If you're a Spider-Man fan, this set is a must-have when it comes to the minifigures. It has a lot of the most iconic villains you will see him fight against in comics and movies, and while most of these you could get in smaller LEGO sets that are still in production, the fact that you get all of those plus all of the exclusives in a single set is a really good deal. References to a lot of other characters in the Spider-Man universe exist in Easter eggs in the form of stickers and prints in this set, but more on that later on. For now, let's check out the building. The building is quite impressive, very tall when compared to other tall LEGO sets, has 4 different floors that can be explored in a very interesting way by removing entire wall sections like these, revealing the rooms inside. The only place where you can't do that is on the first floor, where if you want to peek inside you'll have to remove this wall section like so, or remove the whole floor. Looking at the outside details, there's a rat here that the designer mentioned to be the one who saved the universe in the MCU Infinity Saga, and the sewer cover is a sticker placed on one of the newer 3x3 tiles in light bluish grey. Also, fans of the modular buildings from Creator Expert will be happy to know that they can add another large building to their cities, as the connection points are there. On the front we can see 3 more stickers for the Daily Bugle entrance and a simple yet fun mechanism for the sliding door. The newsstand outside makes use of a very clever building techniques and pieces for a simple yet immediately recognizable effect. Inside you can buy some New York City postcards, and there's a magazine featuring Fisk, an Easter egg of Wilson Fisk, best known as the supervillain Kingpin. On the front, a Daily Bugle newspaper, never missing an opportunity to attack Spider-Man. The sidewalk on the back is made to look all worn down with the missing tiles and use of the rounded corner tiles. The lamp above the door is a neat brick built detail, as are the dumpsters. And finally, we all know how Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, always hides his backpack somewhere in the street. Across the right side of the building we see the impressive fire escape ladder going all the way to the top, and while I don't necessarily agree with the use of red instead of the more common black you would see on New York City buildings, the fact that it is colorful does make the big and boring grey surface less boring in a nice way. There's a small balcony in the back and an outdoor with a very typically angry J. Jonah Jameson. The bird's nest on top of the AC unit using a minifigure shoulder element is really clever, and finally in the top we have the water tank with some Spider-Man and Green Goblin graffitis, and a communications antenna where, according to the instructions, you're supposed to place Firestar with an excessive amount of fire elements. I really like the way the lettering was done in the Daily Bugle logo, as well as the brick-built trumpet. The left side of the building is pretty uninteresting and the perfectly good time to talk about the major downside of the set. Building all of these glass structures is very repetitive, and across the whole build you end up doing it over 60 or 70 times. I think it is to be expected from such a skyscraper type of build, but for sure it was my least favorite part of the whole set. The one time that the glass build wasn't boring was when it got to this point where Green Goblin is bursting out of the window with his glider. The effect of the window breaking apart was nicely done, with structures all together in place, going all over the place with the use of ball joint. And while I didn't try it, it almost feels like most of the pieces to build the window without the damage are there. And I'm sure the city builders will make sure to fix the issue. And the last details outside are the multiple screens featuring a bunch of characters from the Spider-Man universe, like Norman Osborn running for mayor, but we all know who he really is, right? J. Jonah Jameson raging about a cloning epidemic, Dr. Kurt Connors, aka the villain Lizard, Professor Miles Warren, aka the villain Jackal, that in Spider-Man comics is at the center of these cloning issues, and Scarlet Spider, a clone of Spider-Man. That covers the outside of the building. Now to access the inside, as I mentioned before, you can remove the front window assemblies on the top floors, and you are also able to separate each floor starting on the roof like so. In the top floor we see J. Jonah Jameson's office, where we see that he just sent an email to fire Peter Parker, and notice the email address, pparker@web. Clever joke by the graphic designer. On the other side of the office there's the secretary desk with 99 missed calls from an E. Brock, and other nice Easter eggs in there. A TV screen with the same news that we see on the screen outside, and one of my favorite brick-built details of the whole set, the lift. These are just two 2x6 tiles with some round tiles as the buttons to push, and two 1x1 transparent tiles with a triangle print on them to let you know which way the lift is going. According to the instructions, Peter Parker has his own office, and maybe that's why he got fired, with a picture of Spider-Man and some post-its on the wall. And on the room next door, another brilliant little build, a printer and scanner machine. These were the type of builds that helped throughout the boring aspect of having to put the windows together countless times. Lots more details, the door lift again, and the door that leads to the small outside balcony from the back. In the next floor there's the bullpen where all the reporters have their desks to work, and the room is filled with newspapers and nice brick-built details. My favorite on the floor being the water dispenser machine. We get to the bottom of the building where access to the interior isn't as nice as the other floors. You can just look inside from the previously mentioned gap on the side here, or from the top. This is the reception of the Daily Bugle with a waiting area, the security desk, a big screen hinting at a vampire spotted on the subway, therefore justifying the presence of Blade in the set, and my favorite brick-built detail on this floor has to be the soda vending machine. I've done a couple myself as tutorials on the channel, but I was never able to make one as compact as this one. When putting the building together or taking it apart, you need to be extra careful with the different floors and window sections, as they might fall if not properly placed. I once dropped one of the window sections to the floor by accident, and due to the nature of how it's built, it broke in way more pieces than you would expect from a Lego set. A New York inspired build will never be complete without a taxi, and this one in particular could very well be a standalone set that city builders would buy multiple copies of. There's a lot of stickers in this one, which I'm not a big fan of, but again, the build itself is spotless and I really like the use of the revolver as the car exhaust. There's also a spider buggy of sorts, but I really don't want to talk about it because I don't understand why Spider-Man living in New York City would ever want to drive as opposed to just web sling his way across the city and therefore avoiding traffic. So if we take away the silly buggy, the 30 stickers and the repetitive glass builds out of the equation, the Daily Bugle is an awesome set. I dare say probably the best Lego Marvel inspired set Lego has ever produced. It has great minifigures. Fans of Spider-Man get all the main characters of the main arcs of its stories in one box, plus a few exclusives that you'll likely never see in another Lego set. It makes the creator modular fans happy by giving them another building to add to their cities. The price per piece ratio is really good if you consider the set as around 3,700 pieces, and it will sell for $300 or euros. And even though it's mostly grey, it has awesome grey pieces in large quantities. Also, the small brick built details across all floors make this set a really enjoyable building experience. But what do you guys think about the set? Let me know in the comments, and be sure to subscribe if you liked this review and would like to see more Lego related videos such as this one. Bye!